FearScape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time.
Support for FearScape Paranormal Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped, the leaders in male grooming, have a fourth-generation performance package absolutely has been changing the grooming game along with their refined body wash to round out your hygiene routine, Josh. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped for their shower time routine by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code FearScaped to make sure your guys are as smooth as a body wash bottle.
Well, and I don't know if you've smelled the Manscaped refined body wash, but it is an amazing scent, I'm going to say.
Oh, the ladies love it. I was at the grocery store and somebody was like, who is that man that smells smooth as body wash bottles? And I was like, that is me.
Keeps you smelling clean for a long time. Like, not like normal soap where it like kind of wears off and like an hour later, your wife or your lady friend or your spouse or whatever is like, did you shower? Are you sure you showered?
Right. To even seal the deal, get Manscaped's liquid formulations, their crop preserver ball deodorant for before leaving the house, and the crop reviver ball toner for the mid-game ball check. Trust me when I say, fellas, your balls will be saying thank you. And this goes so well together with that body wash. And Manscaped will even throw in 2 free gifts to their performance package 4.0. The Manscaped boxers, which, oh my God, do we love those. Yep. And the Shed travel bag, which brings your comfort and boxers to another level.
So get 20% off free shipping with code FearScape at manscaped.com. That's 20% off free shipping with code FearScape at manscaped.com. manscaped.com. Keep your balls trimmed, fresh, and clean with Manscaped.
Smooth as body wash bottles.
Thank you for tuning in to FearScape Paranormal Podcast. We are on a journey to understand and to discover the phenomena that seems to exist all around the globe. We invite you to join us on this journey into the unknown.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another frightening episode of FearScape Paranormal Podcast here on the FearScape Media Network. I am your host, Stephen Gearhart, and I have a cold. That's why I can do the sweet, deep DJ voice of your dreams. And I am joined, as always, by the non-sexy DJ voiced guy, Josh Rutledge, my co-host. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. When I have a cold, my voice goes the other way.
That'd be awful.
That would be awful.
and kind of cool at the same time.
And, yeah, we like, would it affect people differently? That would be horrible.
I know. Well, we got a really cool show tonight. We're going to be getting spooky with author Trey Hudson. Trey is the current director of the Oxford Paranormal Society and the Anomalous Studies and Observation Group. He's from Atlanta, but the reason we got him on here is for the book that he's recently written. He is an author. He's written the Meadow Project, Explorations into the South's Skinwalker Ranch. Now, that's a bold claim.
That is a bold claim.
Claim.
But also, he's a MUFON investigator too. I saw that. Like, he was in 2019, he was voted the MUFON Investigator of the Year.
Interesting. But that's sorry, Shane. Shane heard. I just expect it to be you every year, but I guess it's not. Looks like he has done quite a bit of stuff over the years, working with the military, working with the government and things like that. So we're pretty excited to be talking to Mr. Trey Hudson. But before we get to that, let's get into some announcements as we usually do. I want to remind everyone, of course, to, get out there, like, share, rate, review, just drop a couple stars onto iTunes or Apple Podcasts. It really drop a review really helps get our podcast a little further.
A little recognition never goes a long way,
That's right. Also, we want to remind you guys to get to our Patreon page. You can go to that via fearscapepodcast.com/support or patreon.com/fearscapepod. Become a blanket hugger. Check out all the cool crap we've got going on there. And I mean crap in the good way, not in the bad way.
Yeah, and if you're like, you like the show, but you're not on like the Patreon level of the show, like you love us, but you're like, I just don't know if I can commit to a monthly charge. You can also go to buymeacoffee.com/fearscape and just drop us a couple extra bucks. Every little bit counts.
Yeah, absolutely. It all helps us travel and all that fun stuff. I know last week, I believe we had talked about how we had been to the Mid-America Paracon, but the one thing we didn't talk about was the things that we did after the Paracon, and we're going to be talking about that tonight, and I don't want to give that away. We're going to be getting into that and some creepy catch-up, so it's going to be awesome sauce. I'm just letting you know. Oh, I'm back. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get into our first segment of the week, of course, which is the psychic word of the week.
And now, the psychic word of the week.
All right, psychic word of the week comes from the Encyclopedic Psychic Dictionary from Dr. June G. Bletzer. Rest in peace, honey bear. Josh, I flipped through the pages and I actually stopped pretty quickly this time and landed on page 173. And I landed across a term called divine intoxication. Divine intoxication.
That's when you get drunk on the communal wine.
As I was going to say, is that I'm a Catholic. When we were altar boys, we may have drank some of the communion wine at 10 years old. Anyways, this says to receive a mass of enfolding psychic experiences within a short time, resulting in a spiritual upliftment, brought on deliberately or occurs without a consciously known reason. For example, to be flooded with vivid dreams each night, to become entranced with the awe and the beauty and the accuracy of the psychic experiences. Divine intoxication. So essentially to be enamored by having psychic experiences is what it seems like. I
think I've probably had one of those like a couple weeks ago. I mean, this is not no bullshit here, but like a couple nights in a row, I'd had a couple of just very vivid, intense dreams. And then one night I happened to walk outside and it was like a moonlit night. It was a full moon and I was just high on life, man, just high on life. And I just like, it was just, and the best I could explain it is just I was overwhelmed with the psychic power. I don't know how
the
to
same would be for me when we were in Somerset after my hypnotherapy session.
Yeah.
One of the things Santosh did was, hey, this was a stressful experience. I want you to feel good. And so he pumped a lot of Reiki and a lot of good energy into my psyche. And I mean, man, for like 3 hours, I was high on life, dude. I had divine intoxication. So to speak.
There you go. Also, I would like to point out how jealous I am because I was raised Southern Baptist, and our communal wine was grape juice.
Juice, and it wasn't even no Welch's either. It was that dollar store grape juice. It was like Dan's grape juice.
GFS is what it's for.
Oh well, GFS is pretty good. It's just when you get down to the dollar store and it's Dan's. Dan just doesn't have very good grape juice. Just wanted to point that out. Sorry, Dan. I know you're out there.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Dan.
It's more like grape water. Grape water. So.
Grape drink.
Get that grape drink. No, bitches, I want Sunny D. Not a sponsor.
But yeah, so anyways, there's that. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's get to our next segment, which is some spooky news. I have some dark spooky news. All right, so spooky news. This week's story comes from the Mirror in the UK there. The headline reads, handwritten letters blaming Satan for causing COVID pandemic are delivered to homes. Yeah, people. All right. People were left bemused and concerned when handwritten notes from Jehovah's Witnesses were posted through their doors claiming Satan was to blame for COVID. Boy, I'm already thinking Kenneth Copeland. I wasn't even expecting the Jehovah's Witnesses.
I mean, little did they know it was actually a pan ritual.
Hashtag too soon, Josh. Hashtag too soon. Residents have been left worried after these letters that blamed Satan were delivered to their homes. A series of letters, one of which blames the coronavirus pandemic and natural disasters on Satan, have been landing on doormats around Sutton Coldfield near Birmingham in the United Kingdom, causing surprise and concern. The handwritten notes were addressed to homes around the town, with one recipient, Justin Tews, at first confused onto why he should receive one. But he was then worried about the tone, which he felt could affect the vulnerable. Interesting. The letter he received was sent from a woman in the town whose name has not been disclosed and starts in a friendly manner. It says, "Dear neighbor, my name is redacted. I live in your neighborhood."
That's an odd name.
Well, it's not a real one, Josh. It's a redacted name that we're using the word redacted to represent redacted name. Yeah.
Okay.
I am writing to my neighbors to share positive hope for the future because fear tactics always create positiveness. Okay. It then swiftly moves on to the COVID pandemic and natural disasters, which have occurred in the past 18 to 24 months, and then she blames Satan for them. The letter states, over the past 18 months, events around the world have seemed to escalate, from the pandemic to wildfires to flash floods and humanitarian challenges. This has led to many people wondering if there is a God. Why does he allow such suffering? Well, from the study of my Bible, I have learned that God is not responsible for bad things that happen to us. In the Bible, book of John, chapter 5, verse 18, it explains that the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one, and that wicked one is Satan, an invisible spirit who rebelled against God. Oh, sorry, my Southern Baptist roots were also.
Yeah, really, you got full on. I was like, "Where's the snakes at?" You're gonna start dancing.
I could be a preacher too. I'll read the next line. However, the good news is that God has promised exciting changes for the near future. He is going to end suffering and make life on earth a delight for us.
Thank you, Jersey Devil, but your dad's kind of the devil.
Yeah, I mean, it's in his name, right?
That is unproven. He has never sent a child support check. There's nothing on record.
Okay. All right. I did appreciate your preaching, though. It was almost better than mine.
Yeah.
It then urges anyone wanting to find out more to respond to the letter by visiting the Jehovah's Witnesses website.
I mean, it's kind of like those pamphlets that people give out, like, you're gonna burn in hell.
Yeah, the tract, the tick tracks, I think are what they're called, or something like that, named for a guy with the last name Ticker. Tactor, Trichter, I don't know, theologian would know. But Justin, the guy that we had talked about earlier, raised concern about the letter after having himself suffered a brain aneurysm. The 50-year-old said, "I found it a bit strange. It's a bit weird. A random letter off a random person that I have never met. And at first I thought it was from somebody I knew. Are they writing to help me? I did just have a brain aneurysm." I mean, I don't mind people preaching. It's up to them. But when a random letter then mentions Satan, the pandemic, and wildfires, I guess I didn't totally understand what it was. I mean, if somebody's going through the issues I'm going through, the vulnerable, it could affect them. And so just really, really interesting. It does kind of come out to the bottom. Justin states, to kind of wrap this up, he says, Jehovah's Witnesses are motivated by love of neighbors when reaching out to people and offering comfort to them from the Bible. So.
Well, I don't mean to offend any Jehovah's Witnesses out there, but this sounds more like a American-based, what's the group that, what do you and the theologian, Christian nationalists?
Yeah, the Christian nationalists.
Sounds like one of their tactics more than Jehovah. I mean, I've never had a.
Well, the Jehovah's Witnesses are kind of, the OG going door to door.
Well, yeah, but I've never had, like, I've talked to some Jehovah's Witnesses before, and I've never felt like they were gonna attack me.
I know, same. Yeah, me neither. I don't know. Very interesting though, but yeah. So some people are getting scared because, just like I said, there's some older people that may be afraid that Satan is coming for them. Satan is not coming for them. I know. Satan's
1, 2, Satan's coming for you.
3, 4. Yep. So yeah, but very interesting out there. Hey, Jehovah's Witnesses, we love you. We love what you're doing. I mean, to each their own, but leave the people alone. Don't try scaring them.
Whatever floats your goat, whatever. So.
Yep. And I'm still a little crusty that because of you, Prince is dead, because he wouldn't have blood transfusions because he was a Jehovah's Witness. So.
But if he was a Scientologist, no, it still wouldn't have worked. It still wouldn't have worked.
I don't know. I'm just mad. But anyways, sad that we lost Prince. Anyways, let's get moving on to our final segment of the evening, which is
Creepy Catch-Up.
Creepy Catch-Up. Creepy Catch-Up. Creepy Catch-Up. Creepy Catch-Up. Y'all, it's creepy.
Oh, yeah. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, back at Creepy Catch-Up.
We're going to be talking about some creepy catch-up that we actually got to share together, though I know, Josh, you have some on your own. So I kind of want you to go ahead and share yours first before we get into the duality of our creepy catch-up.
Well, so you have some, right? That is in addition to the duality. The thing you saw at my house.
Oh, yeah. This is also true. Yep.
So I don't know, chronologically speaking,
I saw a roach. This man he just lets them run. No, I'm just joking.
It's like Joe's apartment.
Right. Roaches. I'll quickly say mine. When I was over at your house, I stayed with Josh for the weekend. I was in Kentucky for the for that old festival convention. That's the word I'm looking for. The convention there. And while I was there, I had my Nintendo Switch, not a sponsor. And while I was there, I just happened out of the corner of my eye, see this white figure just floating on behind the couch to the right of me. I didn't feel any ill will. Heard a paper move. The cats were over to the left of me on the couch, so I knew it wasn't the cats. Like I said, felt good. I just kind of had a feeling it was probably, Kristen's Grams, was my opinion. And I think yours too. It was kind of a nice experience. Like I said, didn't feel anything, but I was just kind of like, hey. Yeah.
So, and it kind of leads to the things that I've seen since you were here that weekend. So, number one, I have the updated version of the SB7 Spirit Box, and I gave you my other one. So the updated version has a red backlit screen instead of a blue backlit screen. It's supposed to be easier on your eyes at night. And then it also has kind of like a ghost box. It has a temperature light, so it's got a little light on the front that'll kind of blink red and blue if it change in temperature gets close to it. So come home from all of our antics, like earlier in the week, I've got it. All the stuff is still kind of in my bag on the on the floor at the end of the bed, and we just kind of start hearing this random, like, high-pitched beep, and it kind of goes for like a little bit, and then it stops. And we hear it a couple times, and then I just kind of ignore it. And I go on to sleep. So then the next day, I hear it again randomly. Hear it again. Try to find it a little bit. Trace the sound to my bag. Pull out that SB7, and it's lighting up like a Christmas tree. So I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, well, maybe it was down in the bag and like something, bumped up against it, or the fact that it was in the bag. So I got it out and I set it up on the chest. Is it chest of drawers or Chester drawers? I don't know, whichever.
Chest of drawers. There's not a man named Chester Drawers.
So anyways, I set it up on top of there. And Kristen goes to go to bed last night. She's like, I'm going to need you to go back in your room and turn off that little spirit box because it is going crazy. And it was like I walked in there and it was like all lit up and just again, sparkling like a Christmas tree. Mm-hmm. And so I couldn't figure out how to turn it off. I ended up just taking the battery out of it. But so that's one thing. Another thing is I've seen today I was because I work at home, I was up walking on a meeting. I was like walking back and forth in the
How do you walk on a meeting?
I got the headphones on. I'm on a meeting, but I'm also walking.
I thought you were walking on a meeting.
No. But anyway, so I'm walking back and forth in my living room, and out of the corner of my eye, I see a dark shadow walk past, like from the living room down the hallway.
Barnabas Collins.
So Kristen was working in there. So anyways, I've seen a dark figure walk around, and I've heard some shuffling of papers, and I think that's probably about it. So anyway, so that's my what happened after the con creepy catch up.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it is definitely the season. So Friday night, so I had no sleep, essentially, to kind of set the story. My plane left at midnight on Thursday night, and I got in early. I didn't get any sleep at all that night, and then we had a full day that day, and then we decided we were going to do a ghost hunt that night. So I was essentially up for about 48 hours total.
So what you're telling me is anything you experienced
is incorrect.
Yeah.
Incorrect. But one of the places I had always wanted to go ever since way back in the day when we covered the Witch's Castle was the Witch's Castle. And if you have not heard that episode, you can go back and listen to that. We also cover the murder of Shonda Scherer, which the Witch's Castle plays very heavily in that murder and that story. That was one of the locations they went to and is thought to have tortured her. But we wanted to go there because it has a rich history outside of that as well. And it's just this amazing house and chapel. It was built in the 1800s that got burnt down years ago, and they just never did anything with it. It's like this cobblestone home, and I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. It's just in the middle of the woods.
And like, whether you believe it or not, I mean, the history and lore that's associated with the area, dates back to a period of time when there were white people on the continent before Christopher Columbus, and all that jazz. So I mean, there's a lot of rich history, whether or not it can be proven or not.
Right. Part of the reason why the guy built this place was he believed it was already sacred ground. I can't think of what the man's name is. That he was Maddox. Was that the guy that built it or the guy he was obsessed with?
That's the guy he was obsessed with.
Yeah. So this guy Maddox was supposed to be the Scottish explorer that supposedly had came to the Americas in the 1100s and had just found all these sacred spaces that even the Native Americans didn't find, supposedly.
Yeah.
And I'm sure rich in quartz or something along those lines, like the stuff we know now. But anyways, this guy that built this home, he was obsessed with the tale of Maddox, and he believed after all this research, he had found a spot that was considered one of the sacred sites. And so he built his home and chapel on this site. And that's where we went. It's in Utica, Indiana, right along the river there, across from Louisville. And it was way cooler than I thought it was going to be. We went out there. Your brother Stuart went out with us. Lance from Misters of the Dark and our very good friend Victoria came out there with us, and we had one hell of a good time, man.
Yeah. I mean, I saw a spider the size of a baseball. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, it was really the size of a dime, but he was so scared. He couldn't even climb the dang old rock. I'm like, come on, man. I'm scared of spiders too, but come on, we got to go.
If you would have seen it. Yeah, if you'd have seen it,
I tell you what, it was going to bite my head off, man. But no, this place was really, really cool. We actually got some cool footage too, using the Psionics, the night vision camera, got lots of fun pictures. Well, we found the main area, which was already spooky. I mean, it's already spooky because
that's the house, right?
Yeah, the history, all that stuff. It's extra spooky. But we wanted to find the chapel. That was the thing, man. That was the thing. So we're exploring because we have no idea. We were not prepared.
It was very overgrown. Very overgrown.
Only people that's got a flashlight is Josh. I mean, all of us just have cell phone lights.
Well, I came prepared. I'm a Boy Scout. What do you say?
And so we're sending Lance, because he's the littlest. We're sending him up all kinds of hills, checking stuff out, because there's foundation everywhere. I mean, this house was massive, but most of it is just foundation. So we're like, it's got to be up this way. It's got to be up this way. It's got to be up this way. And like, we're finding where like there's these leaky little streams from like underground water sources. So like the ground's wet in certain places. We're like, we can't climb up that way. Well, eventually we find the chapel and it's amazing. I mean, it's not very large at all. I mean, it held the 5 of us and not much more room than that. There was someone had ritualistic stuff up there already. I couldn't tell if it was like ill intent ritualistic stuff or just like basic pagan stuff. But I mean, of course, like Satan's carved all over everything. 666 everywhere because it's the witch's castle.
Well, there was that weird Bowser painting on the back.
Yeah, it looked like Bowser from Mario, as my dad says it. But yeah, it was really interesting. And so I was like, ooh, let's create a circle. I'm pagan. I was like, I want us to be safe because your brother Stuart was already kind of freaking out.
Yeah, he was already freaking out a little bit.
He's already freaking out. He's like, I just think maybe we should go. I just, maybe, you know, I'll just say, I mean, this is neat, but you know, let's go. And I'm like, no, we are drawing a circle and we're going to talk to some spirits. And so we decided to try out the Necrophonic app. And we got that sucker going and we asked some questions, which all of this is on video. And we got some really cool stuff. I mean, questions were being answered correctly. Even Stuart's name got mentioned right after he felt something grab him. Like,
well, it was like one of you have been here before, and then we thought we heard it say Stuart, and then we said, and then we heard unbuttoned shirt, which Stuart was wearing an unbuttoned shirt.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so it said Stuart, then unbuttoned shirt, and he's like, "Okay, guys, if you guys want to go, we can go now." Which he tried to totally deny in the car ride home, which was hilarious. Totally.
But hilarious. Yeah, I mean, we got some warnings of like to leave the chapel and like something.
Talks about some different deaths that had happened there. Someone got pushed down a hill. Yeah. And a number of deaths have happened there. Yeah. And one of the things that kind of really made it seem a little bit more legit to me was that there was nothing about Shonda Shear. And I was like, if this stuff comes up, I'm going to be like, get out of here.
You know what also is I find interesting, I was thinking about after the fact, is that's also like that area sits on the backside of an active quarry. So, or was an active quarry once upon a time. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it could be that, we were even talking to people who had died as a part of that quarry. So, but
I mean, people building the house could have died. I mean,
but there was something else that happened before we even got up on the hill. We saw that weird UFO thing again that went around.
Oh yeah.
Went around Jupiter and then started shooting. And this time though, me, you saw it, and Lance and Victoria and Stuart. We all saw it.
Yeah, this time it wasn't Jupiter, though. You looked it up and said it was a star.
Arcturus,
yeah. That happened, and then we heard things in the woods near us. And then, like, when we were in there, the Necrophonic app did say, like, things were watching us. And that's part of the lore there, is that when you're in the chapel, things will stare at you through the windows. And we definitely felt that, for sure. It was definitely super creepy.
It was fun, though.
Oh, it was an absolute blast, man. And then, of course, we did it. I did an improv show back at the Bardstown, and I saw my favorite lady ghost in the back. Just felt her walking by. Hey, lady. Hey, lady.
I saw a ghost cat at the Bardstown.
Yep, you saw a ghost cat. So my Ninja Turtles bandana disappeared. Victoria has gone back and looked for it. She cannot find it, and I think it got sacrificed to the spirits there. So, but it was a good time, man. Lots of fun. Just that whole evening was just filled with eeriness, spookiness, all of us kind of getting each other and laughing and being scared and not knowing where we are in the dark, and just a lot of fun. What an amazing experience. It was probably one of my favorite ghost hunts I've ever been on. Just an absolute blast because there was so much just exploring going on, and it's pitch black dark. I mean, it was it was like a new moon. So there was
no moon.
No moon at all. But yeah, did you have anything else, Josh?
Just one last thing. There was a picture that I shared from the investigation I went on with Keith Age a few weeks back about a shot that I captured in the Henry Clay. So I was talking with Keith the other day, and he had an opportunity to talk to someone who worked at the Henry Clay back when it was operational, like 30s and 40s and 50s. And so in the process of conversation, Keith sent this guy via his daughter my picture that I had snapped. And this guy looks at it, he's like, oh, it's Jason.
Like Jason Voorhees?
No, like it's a little boy named Jason who fell off the roller rink there in like back in the 1930s. He was like 6 years old. So the guy's looking at it, he's like, but then he goes, why is your picture in color? So I mean, to him it looked like it was just
a picture of this kid
standing there. Yeah,
that's crazy, man. That's I love that more and more stuff just keeps coming out about your trip with Keith.
I know. So I just thought that was really cool. It's like, not only did I snap a really good ghost shot that's like not just what's that thing called when you think you see faces, but anyways, it's not just that, like you can make out other detail, but now you've got a third party that's validating that it's
and just thinks he's looking at a picture of the kid. Crazy, man. Whoo, man. Well, anyways, so, Josh,
that's all
I want to move on, man, because I want to get to our interview here with author Trey Hudson, author of the book, The Meadow Project, Explorations into the South Skinwalker Ranch. So please stick around. We will be right back.
Hey there, blanket huggers. Stefan here from FearScape Paranormal Podcast. Got some good news for you. If you want to join in on the investigation of the mystery of the recent emails from the man claiming to be Terry Wrist to Josh and myself, aka the Spooky Crew, and his advice on where to look for more high strangeness, or if you simply want to become a patron blanket hugger for some cool swag and behind the scenes goodness, go ahead and join our Patreon at fearscapepodcast.com/support or patreon.com/fearscapepod. There you can get Riskwatch access to the Terry emails themselves, the WhatsApp conversation about it all with Josh, Stefan, Santosh, and Olaf Phillips, and even any clues that are new that we have found in other Fearscape related bonus content. You can even help out and add anything that you have found to help us dive deeper into the mystery. And remember, you can also just be a normal blanket hugger, as there are a few non-wristwatch tiers for patrons not interested in Terry Wrist and that journey. You'll still have access to bonus interviews, articles, and live Patreon-only Q&As, as well as early access and discounted tickets to events put on by Fearscape, such as psychic events, tarot readings, etc. Or you can simply support however you feel comfortable, with tiers as low as $1. So join today. Fearscape Media Network is your new home for everything weird and enlightening. Check out podcasts and YouTube shows covering content from discussions on horror films to the paranormal to meditation. Find out more at fearscapemedia.com.
And thank you guys so much for sticking around here on FearScape Paranormal Podcast. As promised, we are here with author Trey Hudson, author of The Meadow Project, Explorations into the South Skinwalker Ranch. Hello, Trey. How are you tonight, sir?
I am wonderful. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely, man. Anytime I talk to a person with Hudson, that's my wife's maiden name. I'm always like, you're just a cousin, regardless if you are or not. So hello, family.
Well, and
howdy.
Well, and she's from Kentucky, you're in Georgia. There probably is some chance of familiar relationship there. So
yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. The Hudsons, the area that my family's from, you can't sling a dead cat without hitting a Hudson.
There's a lot of slinging of dead cats happening.
A lot of slinging of dead cats. Yeah, I mean, her dad alone, I think he is one of 10 kids or something crazy like that. So
that's like my one of my wife's side is the Newtons, and so there's a lot of Newtons in Kentucky. So yeah, not related to Isaac Newton that I can find, unfortunately. So anyways, I ramble on a little bit. So Trey, the Skinwalker Ranch of the South, that is a significant claim.
A bold claim, yes, sir.
So I don't know if you wanted to just take, take a first little couple minutes here and just kind of talk about, you know, a highlight, if you will, of some of the things that have happened to you or that you're aware of that kind of leads you to make that claim of the Skinwalker Range of the South?
Oh, excellent question. And quite frankly, a fair question. That is a bold claim, and I don't make that claim lightly. You know, that moniker is not something that is just thrown about willy-nilly. We started researching this area, and the only thing as far as the location I will give is it is in the America's Southland. The reason I do that is I don't want it to become a mecca for thrill seekers and stuff like, you know, the Skinwalker Ranch in Utah and some of these other sites. I want to try to keep it pristine. But since we've been researching this site, and we started really researching it in earnest, starting back in 2016. So this is an ongoing project. And we've experienced entities that we've picked up on our FLIR portals. We actually have film footage of some of our team members disappearing into what, you know, I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to use that label, a portal. You know, they disappear off of our equipment, and we have this on film. As far as I know, that's the only film evidence or film recording of that actually happening. We have had disembodied voices. We've had UFOs. We've had cryptids. We've had flashes, strange lights in the forest. We've had orbs. Let's see what we've had electrical equipment malfunction. We've had vehicles turning on and off. We've had missing time. We've had UAP.
And just like the Skinwalker Range, all sorts of an epicenter for all things paranormal.
So are you
absolutely?
Are you aware? Because we've recently found this in talking with some friends who do a podcast about an area in Kentucky called the Pennyroyal, as well as talking with Stefan. You're gonna what is the guy's name in Hudson Valley? It gets me every time. It gets me every time.
Mark D'Antonio.
Thank you, Mark.
By the
D'Antonio.
way, Trey, this man claims to have a photographic memory, but can't remember Mark's name to save his life.
So wait, now what? Yeah, what are y'all's names again? No, I'm kidding.
No, so yeah, Mark D'Antonio. But one of the things that we've really, we look at these kind of high strangeness places is what is the geography like? And I know you don't want to give away too much about where it is, but just, what's the geography like down there?
That's fair. Imagine the America's Southland. Our prominent mountain range, in this part of the country is, of course, the Appalachians. Mm-hmm. So imagine, the rolling mountainous, Appalachian mountain chain.
Yeah. And
imagine a mountain meadow, a pristine, bucolic, picturesque field or meadow, in this mountainous rolling terrain. Very, very beautiful, very pristine. Mm-hmm. Somewhere, you would want to take your family as a picnic. It's mm-hmm. remote. There are no roads going to it. You actually have to hike into it. So we have to, schlep all of our gear, ruck all of our gear in, when we go to research. So it's just a very beautiful place, a very, very quiet, very peaceful setting. But, once again, like so many things in life, once you peel away that thin veneer, that 1 millimeter of normalcy, sometimes there's very remarkable things waiting right there under the surface.
Well, it's really interesting because you talk about the Appalachian Mountains, and we have talked about some of the strange things that we have encountered ourselves in the Appalachian Mountains, as well as some things that some friends of ours have encountered. Stefan had, when you were out with Santosh that time with the drums, mm-hmm. That was in the Appalachian Mountains that you were hearing drumming off in the distance and stuff. And, again, we've had friends that have had Sasquatch encounters and things like that in the Appalachian Mountains. So, and there's just something really interesting about the Appalachian Mountains, that the fact that they're the oldest mountain range on the planet. They stretch all the way from Georgia all the way up into the UK. I mean, it actually goes across the Atlantic and into the UK. So it's an amazing ancient part of the world and the landscape. And so, who knows what actually is happening, up and down the Appalachians all the time. So.
Oh, absolutely. It's it's a really a neat place, not only from, just a point of view of high strangeness, but the history, of the Appalachians, the First Nations history. And then, you fast forward to, the migration of the Europeans. My family came into the Carolinas from Scotland and then immigrated down, south through Georgia and down south. So it's an area just full of history. And the neat thing is when you take the folkloric overlay, you have the First Nations folklore, the Cherokee, the Creek, the Red Sticks, things like that. And then you overlay European folklore on top of that, Celtic folklore, the Wee people, the Fae,
right?
Will-o'-the-wisp, Jack-o'-lantern. And you start seeing a very interesting similarities between a lot of these folklores. And then so you fast forward into the 21st century and you see this folklore actually living out and manifesting in front of you.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, it's something that we talk about quite a bit, is that there probably, when you take the different names of things across the country, or even just, in a specific locale, you might have a town that calls Sasquatch, the skunk ape, and then you have a town maybe 30 miles away that calls it something else, and another town 30 miles from there that calls it something else, and so on and so forth. All those different things are looked at, I think, as different cryptids, but in all actuality, they're probably just common local names for the same cryptid.
Oh, absolutely. And if you take it even one step further, I started off as a paranormal researcher. That's kind of how I earned my spurs. I studied under William Roll in college, and so that's kind of my background. And what I'm finding, the more folks I talk to, is a lot of people are experiencing the same phenomena, except they're labeling it in different ways. A white entity seen in the woods, a paranormal guy would say, well, that's a ghost, obviously. A cryptid researcher would say, well, that's a Bigfoot. A ufologist would say, well, that's an entity or a gray. And they're looking at the same thing. So we're trying to, in our research, trying to be very careful about sticking labels on things and just describe what we see.
Same. Yeah, we run across that a lot, and we believe a lot of that too. That most of the paranormal events out there and paranormal things are far more connected, related, or misidentified as one or the other when they could be the same thing, than we realize. That there's more connection out there than we all think, and the more that we start thinking that way, I think we're going to clear some things up.
Yeah, that's been my experience. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, and kind of taking on from that, we talked about it before with the infield haunting. I think, nope, I say the wrong one every time, Stefan. Not the infield haunting. No, it was the infield haunting. So the infield haunting over in the UK, where the poltergeist activity, so there's a big, that story is very well known. The infield haunting, infield poltergeist. But in my research and looking in to cover that particular topic, just 30 miles to the west of that location at the same time was a UFO flap.
Right.
And so then we really started thinking, what if you have people, I'm sure people have, but what if you look at big haunting activities like that, right? Poltergeist or demonic possession or whatever. And then look at, were there any UFO sightings that happened close by, or in leading up to or post that experience? Were there Sasquatch sightings? Were there Dogman sightings? So on and so forth, to really start to paint, I think, a full picture of, are these things happening because of one another? Are you seeing more Sasquatch because there's a UFO in the area? Somehow it's casting in a different anomaly or an electromagnetic field or something that's allowing you to see things that you normally are just blind to. Just again, some of the things that we're kind of thinking about and toying around with, and interested in your thoughts on.
No, I think you're spot on. I come from was originally years ago an Army intelligence officer. We were trained to do analysis of, military type things. And back in the olden days, and during the Cold War, I'm going to tell you my age, we would do maps with acetate overlays, big clear plastic overlays. So if we take that same kind of thing and we put an overlay over a map, a geographical area, and we're going to put brown dots everywhere where there's a Sasquatch sighting. And then we take a new overlay B, and we put blue dots wherever there's a UFO sighting. And we take overlay C, and we take yellow dots, and we put wherever there's a ghost sighting. And we take all three overlays, index them together, and you're going to find clusters of high strangeness. And those are the spots to research. And the cool thing is, the way I found this particular spot was tracking the folklore. Looking back all the way back to the folklore of the First Nations and bringing it forward. And you started to see clusters in this area where we're researching of Sasquatch, UFOs, ghost stories, folkloric hauntings and things like that. And it all just, the stuff is just right there, ripe for the taking. And it leads to some truly fascinating research and findings.
Well, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Arabia Mountain in DeKalb County. It's where Alan Greenfield and some others did some magical workings up there because of the lore that they had already heard about that. And that's the Pennyroyal guys. Josh actually just went down there as well and went up to that, the peak of the mountain there. There's a kind of a flat surface there, and they were able to kind of be in that same spot where that magical working happened due to the sightings and everything over the years there. So all, Georgia's a hotbed.
That's quite interesting. I grew up in Gwinnett County, right on the line of DeKalb County, in the Norcross area.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, when y'all are going out, you're doing your investigations. Of course, you're trying to figure out, what's going on here in this area from a paranormal, supernatural perspective. But are you also looking for what I'll say is more common sciencey things? So what is do you have electromagnetic spikes? Do you have spikes in radiation, so on and so forth?
Absolutely. Great question. I have a foot in both camps. I try to be a science guy. That's kind of based on my military background and my working for the government. And I also have a experiential type background because I have a humanistic psychology degree from West Georgia there in Carrollton, Georgia. And so the answer to that question is yes to both of those. We go out and we pay particular attention to the experiential nature of the event. How does it make people feel? What did they experience? How did it change them? But the other side of the same coin is we go out there with our equipment. And strange you should mention radiation, because what we are seeing is spikes of like little micro spikes of radiation when we have some of these events of high strangeness. Background radiation in that area is about 0.06 microsieverts per hour, not much. But when these weird events happen, we've had spikes all the way up to 0.66 microsieverts per hour. Wow. And this is where it gets cool. We've tried the Estes method in the Meadow. And whenever the entity was actually responding through the Estes session, our Geiger counters would spike from 0.06 to 0.12. So there's these little tiny micro spikes of radiation.
We kind of had a similar experience last time we did an Estes session. Josh, remember the
the EMF detector was spiking as we were doing Estes. So we also had a weird thing where it was a kind of like a cloudy sky, but every time we would sit down to do an Estes session, the clouds would dissipate, and then like the fog would let up, the clouds would go away. We would finish up an Estes session, it would all roll back in. We'd start another one, and it would just again dissipate again. So it was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's really cool. If you think about doing the Estes session outside, your receiver is not unlike the same theta wave state of people when they're doing the CE5 protocol of Dr. Stephen Greer, except they're doing it for UFOs. It's the same thing.
Agreed.
Well, I mean, what makes you think you're not doing the same thing? From a, they're talking to UFOs. You think you're talking to something, but who knows? Maybe you're both talking to the same thing. So,
Yeah, that's been our experience. And what we do is we have, people with, cryptid research backgrounds. I've kind of started off as a paranormal guy. I've learned to become a MUFON field investigator. So we just go out there with like this big toolbox with all these different tools in it. And we're not afraid to pull out, a sprocket or a socket wrench and try it to see if it works.
Same. Yeah. We do the same thing. Very much science is absolutely needed in the field at all times, in my opinion, because, not to disprove, but to just check.
Reinforce.
To reinforce or disprove. We're always looking, because I want to make sure if I'm scared by something, I need to know whether or not I should actually be scared of something, like I want proof that I should run, just like I want proof of, like, say, a God or something like that, for the same reason.
Well, sure, God gave us brains to think with, and he gave us curiosity to be inquisitive, and it would be a shame not to use them.
Yep. So we've talked a little bit about the Valley, kind of some of the methods and techniques that you use, a little bit about your background. But what was the what was the defining experience, or did you have a defining experience that said, you know what, I'm going to write about this meadow in Georgia?
It's actually a culmination of experiences. Like I said, we've been researching it since 2016, and we're going out at the end of this month. So it's an ongoing process. But probably the apex, the pinnacle, the Mount Everest of experiences would have to be and I'm just going to use the term portal because it's a convenient term and people kind of understand it. We had been doing a lot of research in the area. On a previous outing, we had one of our members experience missing time. He was observed through FLIR equipment turning into a round sphere-shaped heat signature and moving several hundred meters in a few seconds, and then turning back into a man-shaped heat signature. So, it was, this place was, rocking and popping, and we continued our investigations. And in 2017, we went back out with a field, with several field teams, and had several groups set up with our FLIR and night vision and things like that. And I received a call on the radio that one of my field teams was seeing what they described as a cube or a box manifesting on their FLIR. Now, of course, y'all know FLIR shows differences in temperature.
Yeah. Right.
So where else do we see differences in temperature? Well, you see that in hauntings. So they're seeing a change of temperature, but in the shape of a cube. Where else have we seen cubes? We've seen them at Skinwalker Ranch. Yep. We've seen them at the mysterious ranch in Colorado that Katie Grabowski talks about. You've had them in Brazil during their UFO flap.
Yep.
So
there, just recently, I just saw there was another huge cubed UFO sighting. I wish I could remember where it was at. They had some film of it and everything. And then my sister recently just sent Josh and I some picture that they saw of this red light in the sky that was moving. They couldn't figure out what it was. It was moving in strange directions. She took a picture and kept zooming in, and it was itself was a cube as well. And so we were like, whoa. So it's weird. It's just weird how synchronicity, like how that stuff just pops back up and you're not thinking about it.
Yeah, so there's something about these cubes. So here we were, one was manifesting in front of us. Mm-hmm. And by the time my FLIR operator was able to hit record on his equipment, of course, y'all know you run the battery down if you record all the time. So about the time he hit record on his FLIR, it started to dissipate, but you could still see a very faint outline. So he called us over and he said, this is what I see. Look through my equipment. Look through your equipment, and you kind of see what I'm talking about. And it's like, okay, let's dispatch a team over there to see if the environment has changed any. Let's do some good solid research. Mm-hmm. So we dispatched a team, and we're watching them through the FLIR. We're recording, and this, like I said, this was in the wintertime. No vegetation. You can actually visually see through the vegetation to another ridge across from the meadow. It's that's sparse.
Yeah.
So as our team approached the remnants of this cube, they completely disappeared off of our FLIR equipment. Poof, they're gone.
Sure.
And then they came back out and they reappeared. And we did a after action review, a debrief using the cognitive interviewing process technique. And my team described it as thus. They said when they went into this area, they went in there unimpeded. There were no brambles, no briars, no stickers, branches, anything like that. They just smoothly walked into this area. And when they got there, the temperature was colder, which, it ties right into what we were seeing on our FLIR equipment, a difference in temperature. And they said that it was very dark. It was like they were surrounded by a heavy black velvet curtain, very, very dark. Light didn't really seem to work in there like it usually does. And so they stayed in there a little bit, recording their findings. And when they came back out, they encountered the brambles and the briars and the bushes and stuff that weren't there before. So something happened while they were in that area, in that little tiny micro footprint. It has shifted just a little bit. Where they were, there were no stickers and briars and stuff like that. But when they came out, this stuff had returned back to its normal surroundings. So, that's quite frankly, that's kind of hard to top. So that's probably the apex of high strangeness we've had out there.
And I guess that's the kind of the neat thing is that, it almost seems like it's almost like clockwork. You guys are able to go out there and stuff's happening, which, is a reason to be able to kind of give it that moniker of the South Skinwalker Ranch, because that's the thing. Everybody that goes out there has an experience, and it seems like that's the thing there too. And it just makes you wonder, like, what's so special about that spot?
Well, I mean, obviously you can't call it Skinwalker Ranch because it's not a ranch, but you could call it the Mystic Meadow.
The mysterious meadow. Yeah. The Meadow of Mystery.
Meadow of Mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those roadside attractions where, balls roll uphill and,
Right.
Yes.
one girl looks little and one girl looks big, but they changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Come see the world's biggest donut,
That's right.
And ball of yarn.
Ball of yarn.
That's right. That's right. Exit through the gift shop,
Right. Exactly. Where you can pick up your own ball of yarn for just $8.99.
So
right.
what is it that, got you into all of this? I mean, we always love to ask, everyone has such unique stories, and not just necessarily the mystery meadow there, but just in general, like what drew you to the paranormal?
What's your origin story?
Yeah. What's your origin story?
Well, the house I grew up in had a lot of lead paint on the baseboard. No, I'm kidding. No.
You're like, it's delicious on cereal.
That's right. But wait, there's more. I was a child of the 70s. And back in the 70s, there was a fantastic TV show, and y'all are probably intimately aware of it, called In Search Of, with Leonard Nimoy.
We just talked about that a couple episodes ago. I think with Mark D'Antonio.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
It's a great show. I love it. Yeah.
It was, and I actually have the entire series on DVD, and my wife, begrudgingly sits through me watching these old 1970s paranormal things.
I love it.
But it was really cool, and I was, a young kid, 11, 12 years old, and I'm watching this stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is friggin' cool. This is amazing stuff. And at that time, my dad was a contractor. He would build projects all over the U.S., and he traveled at night from project to project. And he heard a radio show one night with an author on it, and the author was a man by the name of Brad Steiger, who I'm sure you're familiar.
Love Brad Steiger.
And he was, talking about his new book back then called The Gods of Aquarius. Mm-hmm. And my dad bought this book and read it, and he had an interest in this kind of things. And so after he was done, I read this book, and Brad Steiger talked about kind of in the same like vein we were talking about. He talked about cryptids and UFOs and Marian apparitions and all of this kind of through the same lens. Yeah. So it really got me interested in it. So turn the page. More UFO shows started coming out in the 70s and early 80s, and I kind of was digging that, kind of liking it. It was the 70s. I thought it was groovy, to use a little 70s term there. And then I went off to university, and I studied under folks like Bill Roll, the famous parapsychologist, which was, kind of neat. And, got into that and always had a very, healthy interest in this stuff. And then, my God, life came screaming down, like a bird of doom. And all the fun got sucked out of everything. And I had to go get a job. Yeah. And So, I wasn't able to cultivate my my interest in this stuff. And in 2008, let me correct myself, I decided to start rekindling my interest in it. And there was a local paranormal group called the Oxford Paranormal Society, which is a TAPS family member. And I applied to be an investigator. And they, for whatever reason, they must have had a really dull night. They accepted me. and the they needed someone to get coffee and to, scrape the mud off of their shoes, I suppose.
And listen to all the audio recordings.
Yeah. I sit there, was that a class A? No, that's a class, D EVP. Oh, well, okay. So, I was that guy. But like happens a lot of times, the founders, their interest took them elsewhere. So, there was this established paranormal research group that was started in 2006. And they said, Trey, would you like this group? Would you like to become the director? We're going to step out of it. Wow. So I was given this research group. And that was under the auspice of the Oxford Paranormal Society that we first started researching the Meadow and that area, which the whole area is weird. And we found that it was just really strange. It wasn't your typical, go into a haunted house and sit there at night with your tri-field meter and your digital voice recorder. It was more than that, and it required a little bit more hardness of the researchers, because we would have to pack our gear out there. We'd have to stay in the woods over the weekend, and things got really damn strange real quick. And we needed people that could keep their all their poop in one sock, so to speak.
all their faculties while you're out there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And so what I did is I recruited folks I knew from military, law enforcement, special operations, emergency medicine. So these are all people that are really used to being in dicey situations and keeping their wits about them. Mm-hmm. So we formed a division of OPS, called the Anomalous Studies and Observation Group, ASOG. And they're kind of like the Green Berets of the paranormal world. They're the guys and gals that will put a pack on their back with all their equipment, hike 7 miles into a remote location, spend the weekend out there, have strange, weird stuff hopping and popping all around them, and not lose their stuff. Kind of keep focused on mission, maintain discipline. And we use we're not a militaristic group. It's not like that, but we use a lot of the same command and control that the military uses. We have radio call signs and very strict chain of command and things like that to keep things organized and moving. So that's kind of how I started and kind of what we've evolved into.
Very cool.
So you've mentioned a couple times that you've got a lot of things on video. Mm-hmm. Is that because there's a doc coming, or a TV show, or YouTube show, or?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Oh, I'm just wondering when I'm going to be able to see some of this footage.
Let's just say there are certain contractual reasons that I'm not going to go into, that I am not at liberty to release the video quite yet. Now I was at the Laughlin Mega UFO Conference, and I do have a lecture I do where I show these videos, but I'm not at the point where I want to put it out there to the entire whole wide world. Gotcha. And there are other reasons for that. Okay. And hopefully, I'm just going to say, hopefully that it will be released in a medium where many, many people can see it.
All right. Well, as long as it's coming, I can accept I can accept coming soon, as long as coming soon is not never. So so we always like to. I just want to take a step back, and we've talked about pretty much the gambit of what I will say is supernatural, paranormal type stuff. We always like to ask people kind of an off-the-wall question. You are like us into probably just about everything as it pertains to that topic, but we have not had one particular conversation yet, and that is around psychics or mediums. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on, let's say, psychically gifted people.
That is a great question. It so happens that many people in my team, myself included, are formerly trained remote viewers using trained using the coordinate remote viewing technique, which was developed by the U.S. Army INSCOM and the Defense Intelligence Agency. So here's my answer to that: is human beings, I know for a fact, are multidimensional creatures. We all have the ability to exploit and tap into that multidimensional nature of our being. That is what remote viewing is. It's a way of training yourself into tapping into that at will. I know that it works because I've done it. People that have any questions about it, all they need to do is tap into some of the declassified Defense Intelligence Agency, U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command, and CIA documents, as well as some of the documents from the highly respected Stanford Research Institute. Tons of data on remote viewing, and any logical, open-minded, and scientific person would look at these documents and this information and say, yes, that's real. It's quantifiable. It can be empirically measured, and it is in fact, it is a fact. It does exist. And certain people, I think, have a easier time of getting into that mental state to tap into that multidimensional nature of themselves. People call them psychics. I am about as psychic as a banana slug, but yet I was trained, through a very rigid protocol to do remote viewing. So, anybody can do it. You just have to put the time into it.
Not like anybody can cook. Some people, though, are just really good at it all the time.
Right.
Some people burn water, but,
My grandmother. She was known to burn water.
Stephen's really good at cooking a bowl of cereal. But...
No way, I'm good at cooking, man. But yeah, that's what we always say, that I always feel that way, that anyone is capable of this stuff. It's just a matter of learning how. But yeah, some people are just naturally, able to do so. I mean, they have an easier time getting to it.
So I'm gonna pull out the remote viewing thread a little bit, because I'm very interested in it. I have done a little bit of research into it myself. As Stephen will tell you, I like to dabble in a lot of different things and commit to none of them. But so one of the things I'm curious about is, there's some people who have supposedly remote viewed Mars. And so I'm curious, are you limited? I'm trying to think how to put the question together. Are you limited by your imagination? Which sounds like you're imagining it, but that's not what I mean. But are you limited as to what you can remote view by what you have seen, or can you remote view anything?
Pretty much the answer to all your questions are yes. And that sounds like a really weird answer, but I'm going to tell you why. Is in remote viewing, let's step back into quantum science, okay? There are certain quantum theories that everything is attached to everything else, okay? That's how you have spooky action at a distance or quantum entanglement. Things are connected to one another through a an extra dimensional tie or string, if you will. It's outside of our Euclidean understanding of the universe. So everything that ever was, is, or will be exists in a quantum state right now. And what remote viewing does is it allows you to open up a pinhole through that liminal veil into that information, into that quantum state, and pull data from it. Now, it can be data on a person, it can be data on a place. The U.S. Army Intelligence was using it to do remote viewing of military targets. You can look at events, you can look at people. So anything that was, is, or will be is capable of being remote viewed.
So you said was, meaning you can go back and look at past events?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Josh is like, I lost $100 about a year ago.
No, but it's just, Stefan, it kind of goes along with some of the other stuff that we have going on right now with the person who's emailing us. So, I was just messaging Stefan to tell him, because you're like the, fifth person that we've had on the show of recent guests where the conversation has gone to quantum entanglement. It's almost like the universe is saying you need to read about quantum entanglement. So it's just really interesting. It makes my brain hurt a little bit, but it's really interesting. I think, and I want to be cognizant of time, and your time, and I really do appreciate you coming on tonight. But I want to give the opportunity. How can people? We know you've got the one book that we talked about as part of the show, the about the Meadows book,
the Meadow Project.
Meadow Project. Thank you. How can people find information about you, about what you've got going on? Keep tabs on you to know when you're going to release that documentary that you want to talk about.
Yeah. Probably the best place to find me is behind the rat-infested back alley of your local liquor store. No, I'm kidding. That's not weird.
Hey, I thought you looked familiar.
That's right. Buddy, can you spare a dime? No. Probably the best way is on Facebook when it's up and not crashing. A little stab at Zuckerberg there. But no, on Facebook, if you go to Trey Hudson -author, that's my Facebook page. And the Oxford Paranormal Society has a group page. The book, of course, is out there on Amazon, and we've got it in all the the myriad formats: ebook, hardback, softback, and audiobook. So it's out there for the taking.
Do you have the osmosis edition where I can just sleep with it on my pillow and it'll just absorb into my brain?
We have the Matrix edition. All you have to do is take the red pill that Amazon will send you.
Yeah.
Next day if you have Prime.
That's right. Well, not lately. They'll say it's next day, but it's still going to show up 5 days later. But yes.
No. Yeah. So well, sorry, I might cut you off. Was there anything else for people to look for you?
No, I'm this ongoing project. I keep people updated, as things evolve, and I'm hoping to be able to put something out there soon. It's kind of a fickle world out there in this particular area where this project is working, so we'll see how that manifests.
Yeah.
Well, Trey, we absolutely appreciate you taking your time and letting us know what's going on down south, man. I know we're interested to see what information comes out, to see all the stuff you've got going on, because, just the title alone grabbed me. So, I'm interested as us being Southern boys, like we know how creepy the South can be. So in a paranormal way, it's creepy in other ways as well, but strictly paranormal.
Paranormal. Yeah.
That's what I speak about. But thank you so much, Trey Hudson, author of the Meadow Project, Explorations into the South Skinwalker Ranch. Make sure you guys get a copy ASAP. Because it is going to be well worth your time. Thank you again, Trey, and we'd love to have you back anytime.
Thank you, guys, and y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much, Trey Hudson, author, paranormal investigator, all around good dude.
Yeah, I would classify him as a Fortean.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely a Fortean investigator. Once again, I'm going to say it for the 30th time, but get out there, Amazon.com, look up the Meadow Project, Explorations into the South's Skinwalker Ranch. Great book, very reasonably priced. Check it out. And, you don't, this dude's great. Just talking to him, you heard. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on. Yeah. So it's like you just don't want to miss out on this. I am so anxious to see what happens with all of this, because usually projects like this, especially hearing him say, we've been doing this for a number of years now.
Yeah.
How much stuff does this dude got? He's got a ton of stuff, and you don't want to give away everything in the book. You don't want to give away everything that you're going to try to release later, but ooh.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to, whatever might be coming at Mystic Meadows or whatever, whatever is coming.
To the side road project. I love that. I'm like, I could see Mystic Meadows on the Route 66 along the way, heading out to Phoenix to see me, be like, hey, that's copyrighted. It's already somewhere in Georgia.
Yeah. Mystic Meadows also sounds like it could be a pot farm.
That or like a companion series to Twin Peaks.
When you say companion, I didn't know where you were going, and for a split second, my mind was like, "What do the dogs have to do with Mystic?"
Oh, see, I go Doctor Who when I think companion. But anyways, Meadow Project by Trey Hudson. Check it out. All right, just a reminder before we get to our final segment, we have an amazing app for the FearScape Media Network. You can download that on the Google Play Store. You can get access to all the great shows: Misters of the Dark, Ghosts in the Attic, Bodies in the Basement, Memories of Cain, all of them. There's such amazing stuff. We are also opening submissions again. I think I mentioned this last week as well. We are looking to add some new podcasts. We have had a really great response to the group that we have now, and we'd love to see more. So if you've got a great podcast idea, you've been thinking about hosting a podcast, or in fact, you've got one that you're interested in getting a little more exposure, let us know and see if we could join the network. There's a number of ways to get to us. I mean, FearScape Podcast at gmail.com or FearScape Media at gmail.com.
And I'll just, for those who may be shying away from like a network, because there are some networks that are very, how should I put this? Demanding.
Shady.
Yeah, well, shady is a good word, but demanding. They require you to do certain things and host certain places and all that kind of stuff. That's not us. So
even if a collective,
or a community is probably a good.
Yeah, one of the great things about the FearScape Media Network is how we just all support each other. We talk about each other's shows all the time, share commercials, and we're just a great big support network, kind of.
So, I mean,
if
you've considered a network in the past but been turned off by the other networks that are out there, give us a shot. I don't think you'll be disappointed.
Please do. And we met some cool folks at the Paranormal Con this 2 weeks ago. And hopefully we're going to grab one or two of them for the network as well. Some interesting stuff. But I mean, it doesn't have to be paranormal. It could be horror. It could be pop culture. It could be really anything. You could have
a meditation podcast. We'll be interested. Anything.
Yeah, Santosh, you can have a meditation podcast. Just calling out my friend. But yeah, anyways, done with that. But yeah, you can email us, hit us up on the social medias at FearScape Pod, anywhere. Call us. If you see me walking down the street, be like, "Yo, Stefan, I got a podcast," and I'm gonna go, "Not again." But yeah, check that out. The other thing I wanted to mention, I think my brain just stopped, Josh. So you can tell I got a cold. So my brain just stopped.
I don't remember the other, rate and review.
Make sure you go to our store. FearScapePodcast.com/store. There's some really cool stuff. Jersey Devil's got a couple t-shirts on there now. Really cool stuff. There's some cool shirts for some of the other podcasts as well. It's just another great way to help support us, and just some really fun designs. We think up stuff and we just throw it on there sometimes. It's a lot of fun. So stickers, there's all kinds of fun stuff.
If only we could draw, we could come up with so much amazing
my
stuff.
God. And like trying to just, lock Santosh into a room and forcing him to draw, he gets mad at me. So if you got that Jersey Devil one together, it's nice.
If that's like one skill I could download from the Matrix, it would be the ability to draw really well.
Amen, for sure. Anyways, let's get out of here before we get people look at that soapbox they're on.
No, one more thing. For anybody who's able to make it out, I will be at Wild and Weird Con in West Virginia, out there with Joe Perdue and the Wild and Weird Boys. November 6th, I think, is there's November 5th. There's a special VIP event if you happen to have those VIP tickets. Otherwise, November 6th is when the conference is out there. Just go to wildandweirdwestvirginia.com, wildandweirdwv.com, and there's a link out there for the con. Check it out.
I believe it's wildandweirdcon.com as well, but I'm not 100%. But check it out. If it takes you to porn, I'm sorry. That's Wayne's fault. But anyways, let's get to our final segment, Josh, because I got a great encounter. So let's get 2 encounters from the FearScape. All right, Josh, got an encounter from the FearScape. This comes from a listener named Cheyenne, and this is a short but sweet story, but it's spooky.
All right.
As they can be. So check out this story here.
Hi, I'm from Ohio. And when I was younger, we lived in this trailer, and my sisters and myself had a room, and there was this huge walk-in closet. And every night when we went to bed, I would hear my sister talking, so I would turn over, and she'd be sitting up looking at the closet, having a full-on conversation. Then one night, I heard who she was talking to, and I was confused at first. But I asked his name, and he said,
My name is Sam.
And this is where it gets scary. I remember the chills that I got when I heard his response to my next question. I asked him why he was always in our closet, and he said,
My parents shot me and left my dead body in here.
So that's my story, and it happened about 7 years ago. Thanks, you guys.
Well, okay then.
You could just drop some crazy and like scary and then be like, deuces, y'all.
So what really, since we know about trickster entities, like, did that legit happen to that entity, or what was that, that thing messing with them?
Yeah, I don't know. Cheyenne, if you're listening on this, let us know. I'd love to know the history there. Were you able to do any research?
Because I feel like parents shooting at somebody and leaving their bot, that kid, the person's body in the closet, like, probably at least made a police report.
Yeah, well, and you may not have been left in the closet, but when he died, his soul may have been left in the closet, so to speak, right? Because obviously the body's not there.
Well, and he's just trying to come out of the closet.
Looking here, she did respond. She said, yeah, she did some digging around and found out that the first owners did murder their son, and the body was found in the exact closet in our room.
Awesome.
So
spectacular.
There you go.
This is the kind of stuff to put on a college entrance exam, by the way.
Yeah, and oddly enough, she says that the owners that live there now have had no experiences. I'm like, let's go. Sam followed you. Yeah. He's like, oh, somebody's talking to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways,
don't want to scare you.
Yeah. Welcome to October, right? Send in your encounters from the FearScape to fearscapepodcast@gmail.com, or submit a sighting onto our website, fearscapepodcast.com, or just hit us up. You know the jam. But we love those stories and we want to share them. Josh, it is time to go, man. It's time to blankets up tight around your neck. Your neck, and tighter and tighter and tighter to your coffin. I don't know what that is. So I wear a CPAP at night, right, when I sleep, and it's got the little like hole in the front for your exhale to make it out, so that you don't choke on carbon monoxide poison. So anyways, I'm always, but I also get really cold at night, so I always pull the covers up really high on my like up on my neck, but I'm always worried that I'm going to cover up that little hole and die in my sleep. Oh my God, I would freak out too. I never thought about that back when I used to wear mine.
So I was like, when I roll over and I pull the covers up, I always wake up really quick and like check to make sure I can still feel air blowing out of that little hole before I go back.
All right, well, let's get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to FearScape Paranormal Podcast here on the FearScape Media Network. My name is Stefan, and it's just a reminder, keep your eyes on the skies.
And this has been Josh. The truth is now.
And remember, folks, hold those blankets extra tight, but pull them back away real quick so you don't cover your CPAP hole. Because things tend to get spooky when you're listening to FearScape. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
We hope you have enjoyed this guidepost on the road of high strangeness with us. And we thank you, as always, for listening and joining our caravan to the weird and unknown. please consider supporting us as we continue our journey to find the answers we all seek. FearScapePodcast.com/support.